All right, it looks like we have everyone in the spaces. Ran, hi, welcome. Do you hear me well?
I do. Can you guys hear me? How's everybody? Can everybody hear me? Is everything good?
Yes, loud and clear. Lovely. Okay, well, right on the dot, let's get started. Welcome everyone to another edition of our Roundtable Twitter Spaces hosted by Morningstar Ventures. So a couple of months back, we actually had Scott, the Wolf of All Streets, Simon from Chainflip, and also Flavian, the founder of Beware Labs, talk to us about what was going on in the market, given the banking crisis and aftershocks of FTX that were happening at that time. Now, with the world of crypto certainly keeping us on our toes today, we wanted to actually revisit the topic of what is going on in the market and dive a bit deeper into what the next half year could potentially look like. So in the past weeks, we have, of course, also seen the SEC crackdown on top crypto institutions. We also saw Bitcoin falling under 25K, then rallying back up to over 30K. And just this week, we are seeing non-crypto native institutions like BlackRock calling crypto, digital gold and an international asset. So with all of these things that are going on and still 6 months left of the year, we invited three experts to talk to us about what is ahead. We're super excited to have Ran Neuner, aka Crypto Man Ran, and co-founder of Crypto Banter, Alexei, co-founder of Walken, and Austin King, co-founder of Omni Network, with us today to talk about what is going to be on the horizon. Now, before we get started with our round of introductions, if you haven't joined before, I'm your host, Naini, and co-hosting with me is Peter. And so Peter and I, we will be talking to our guests for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then we are going to open up the session to our audience for live Q&A, or if you have questions that come within the comments section, please do feel free to do that, and I will ask those questions to our speakers. All right, so let's get started with a round of introductions. Ran, Alexei, and Austin, it is really lovely to have you guys here. Thanks for joining 30 minutes earlier, also to our audience for being so on top of our tweets. So if you guys could please briefly introduce yourselves and tell us a bit more about what you are working on in crypto. Ran, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I'm Ran Neuner, Crypto Man Ran. Brief history, just for those people who haven't met me before or spoken with me before. I actually had a big business before crypto. I built and sold the biggest media and marketing company in Africa. I sold that business for over $100 million, $150 million. And then I launched, and one of the reasons why I sold it is because I went down the crypto rabbit hole. And once I went down the crypto rabbit hole, it was just, I couldn't do anything else with my life. Fast forward 1 or 2 years after the sale, I was looking for crypto information and I couldn't find any crypto information. So I launched the world's first televised crypto show on CNBC. It was called CNBC Crypto Trader. We ran that show until COVID lockdowns, when I decided that I just couldn't do shows from an apartment with 3 kids running around. But I also didn't like traditional media. I didn't like working with CNBC. I found them to be the exact opposite of what I appreciated as a media person. I'll give you some background as to why. The first thing is I found them to be very journalistic in their approach. And when I mean journalistic, journalists are trained to be neutral and to ask lots of questions. And that's just not the type of person that I am. I'm never neutral, and I'm always I'm argumentative. I'm not only a person that's going to ask questions. So the second thing I didn't like about CNBC was I always felt them to be very distant from their viewers, and I never actually realized. I never actually. They weren't about community, and I'm very much about community. So decided to start my own gig. It's called Crypto Banter. We're building 24/7, 365 crypto streaming. We are the biggest live crypto show in the world today, both on Twitter Spaces in our partnership with Mario and Scott, and on YouTube we're the biggest live crypto show in the world. and we're building a huge business out of bringing live, credible crypto streaming to the world. Today, we have the most loyal community in crypto. In terms of, if you look at it statistically on YouTube, we have the most loyal, sticky community on crypto. And to be honest, we've just started. I also wear another hat in that I manage my own family office and a crypto fund, and we make early stage crypto investments, as well as we have big market investments in crypto. So that's just by way of a brief background.
Thank you, Ran. It's funny you said that you went down a crypto rabbit hole, but maybe you created that rabbit hole for a lot of us, given that you were an early starter in the space. Yeah, great introduction. Alexei, do you want to go next from the Walken perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Alexei Kulevets here, founder and CEO of Walken. So our background and my background is been in software pretty much all life. Our current team comes from the Web2 background. Since 2017, we've been building apps and games and entertainment products for mobile audiences for iOS and Android, and that's how we learned how to make good competitive products, sticky interfaces, just kind of good quality apps. Over that period of time, from 2017 to 2022, we generated over 100 million downloads in different segments of apps. And we came to crypto relatively late. That was the end of 2021, when we decided to pivot one of our healthcare products or fitness products, which was a walking app. And we decided to transform that a little bit into crypto, add the gamification element to it. And that's how Walken was invented. And then we found ourselves in the middle of the move to X trend, which happened a year ago. So this gave us a huge boost. And we've been managed to acquire over 4 million players to date. And today, Walken is an ecosystem. We have 3 games live and working on a couple more in different segments and genres. So our mission is to bring high quality gaming first experience and crypto adoption as a way to support it and reach the wider audience.
Thank you, Alexei. Great introduction, and we'll speak a bit more about your gaming ecosystem a bit later. And Austin, please go next.
Sure thing. Hey, everybody. My name's Austin King. I'm one of the co-founders of Omni. A bit on my background. So Omni is actually the second crypto company that I've been working on. So I originally fell down the crypto rabbit hole when I was studying at Harvard, and I started building my first company during my senior year. And so that company actually as well was built on layer 2s. But back in 2018, layer 2s meant things like Lightning Network, not rollups. And so we built the first interoperable network across these layer 2 networks, so you can make payments across Bitcoin, Ethereum, a number of networks that were active at that time. And so we were one of the first companies to really demonstrate mainstream traction for these tools. So we processed over 10 billion payments across various layer 2 networks, and I ended up selling that company. And so now I'm building Omni. And so what is Omni? Omni is a layer 1 blockchain built to connect all rollups. This has kind of come front and center in the crypto space, where we've matured at the infrastructure level to have cheap transactions with rollups. But now all the users and applications are kind of scattered across these different L2 solutions. So, we already have a number of them that are live today, and even more are getting launched every day. And so this has become a huge problem because Ethereum used to have all these network effects where it was very easy for all the users and apps to be in one place, but now they're scattered everywhere. And so what Omni provides people is a platform so that they can build an application once, and when they deploy it to Omni, Omni automatically takes care of ensuring that it's available across all these different rollups. And so, Omni mostly sits at the infrastructure level of just ensuring that as the crypto ecosystem at large is scaling and adopting these new technologies, that we still make it easy for developers to reach their end users.
Great. Thank you so much, Austin. And I would like to start the first round of our questions, catching the topic of our and title of our today's spaces. How were the last 6 months for you and your projects? Did you do anything differently to navigate current market conditions than in previous years? So who wants to take this one first and speak about the past 6 months for your project?
Yeah, I can go ahead. Ironically, because we joined the crypto late 2021, it was the time when the bull market was kind of starting. It was not over yet, but it was kind of going away quite fast. And by the time we closed our rounds, which was May or June 2022, it was basically gone. So all of what we've seen in crypto has been the bear market. So for now, whenever we speak to all of our VCs, they all ask, how are you guys comparing to the bull run? And we say, hey, we never seen a bull run. So the only market that we've seen has been the bear one. But yeah, it's because we come from Web2 background, which is like build and marketing focused. We basically kind of try to only focus on the product and the community, and kind of just use this time to improve everything and kind of test lots of hypotheses and essentially get prepared on all fronts, on product, community, infrastructure, towards the bull run, which we expect will drive everything 10x from where we are today. So yeah, it is definitely a tough time, and I now realize why a lot of teams don't make it till the end, and that's why we call it a bear market. But kind of that's the point of it, and it's about surviving. But yeah, one thing we noticed is that introducing things like fiat revenue and advertising, things which are relatively easy to do from the world of Web 2, they actually can be greatly combined in Web 3. So in some of our games we launched, because we have such a massive appeal towards audience and use various forms of user acquisition, even if users end up not being converted to Web3 users or not kind of paying anything to us, they still pay us with their eyes and their attention, and we can monetize that. And yeah, that's been one of the great ways to get additional revenue into the company. And this allows us to not just kind of sit and wait for the bull run, but actually go full steam ahead, even in the current market, because lots of users actually don't know and don't care what a bear market is and what a bull market is. They just want good products.
I think I'm a little bit lost in this conversation because you guys are all talking about a bear market. What bear market are you talking about? I think we're in a raging. I think we're in a raging bull market. Like if I look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is up 85% this year since January. If I look at crypto usage, and when I say crypto usage, I don't mean just people speculating on exchanges. But if I look at specifically all transactions on chain, if you look at all transactions on chain, if you take blockchain transactions on chain, we are at the highest level of on-chain transactions that we've ever had in blockchain. So I know that there's some people that are still talking about a crypto bear market, but like I don't know what those people are talking about. Yes, maybe altcoins are not doing 100x's and 200x's and whatever else, but on the metrics that actually matter, I think we're actually in a raging bull market.
In this way, yeah, I would agree here. The guys from Footprint actually did an interesting analytics of some of the products, and like our on-chain data is like 20 or 30 times larger than that of Stepan on-chain. Although sometimes on-chain data, it can be it's not the main parameter, so to speak. But yeah, when I'm referring to bear market, I mostly mean the liquidity in the altcoins segment. But as for usage and stuff like that, yeah, sure, I can only agree, because all our growth has only been in this market.
Austin, what about you? And Ren, I like that you already went into it, because the topic of today is indeed like, where are we in the market? Like, are we in a bear? Are we in a bull? And you already kind of went deeper into that. Austin, what is your perspective on this?
I kind of like Ren's perspective here. I think Honestly, the way that I think about it, so I've always been on the builder side in crypto, and I built my last company through the previous bear market, and so, kind of the way that I look at it is just how are the companies that are building in the space feeling about things, and I think one failure that a lot of companies accidentally make is just that they get demoralized and demotivated, and I think this is honestly one of the most important things for companies who are building and trying to improve the technology and actually drive mainstream adoption of these technologies to keep in mind. It's just that you need to build a culture of a team who is excited to build, bear or bull. We're talking about what the definition of like the current market state even is. I think the important thing for teams that are building is to make sure that the company culture is not based upon that at all. And so, right now, if we're looking at it from the perspective of how our teams are building in the space, I think a lot of teams are still a bit demoralized. But really, I think there's a lot of asymmetric opportunity in there. The past 6 months have been huge for Omni. We've seen like substantial growth, ranging from our community expanding to launching our testnet and seeing a ton of traction there. And so, I don't know what to call it at this present time. I do think teams are still a bit demoralized, but I do think that teams that have consistently been building throughout this entire bear market, it's really starting to show, and people are starting to see these projects that have used this time well compared to some other projects.
Great. Thanks for your take. And continuing the speaking about where we are at the market right now, and Ren's take about the bull market. I wanted to ask Ren, as an investor, influencer, and given your participation in different projects and speaking to many founders, which segments in Web3 are particularly appealing now, and what will you be looking out for in the upcoming months? And do you agree with Austin's take about many teams being demoralized now?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's start from the beginning. Number one, as I said, I think we're in a raging bull market. I think that this bull market is very different, and specifically, I mean, I have data. It's a pity that this is not a stream, because on a stream I could show you data. But from the 15th of June, the majority of the buyers, and the 15th of June is a very significant date because that's where BlackRock filed the ETF. The majority of buyers in the market have actually been institutions, not retail investors. You can see that. And so I think that this bull market is the bull market that is led by institutions, which is very different from other bull markets that some of us who've been in crypto for a while have seen. In terms of builders being demoralized, yes, we go through market cycles. I've been here, this is my third cycle. I remember in 2017, a personal story, I started with nothing in terms of crypto. I went all the way up. I became a 100 millionaire, and then I went all the way back down to below where I started, because I thought that shitcoins were going to change the world. I convinced myself that shitcoins were going to change the world, and I held on to them right through the bear market. And then I remember at one point leaving crypto. In fact, I left crypto in July of the pandemic, so July 2021. And then I came back in September. So there were 2 months where I was out of crypto.
Oh,
and
really?
I came back and started. Yeah, and I mean, even I left because it was so demoralizing. Because I just thought I worked so hard. I worked so hard trying to get crypto to work, trying to do deals, trying to buy into projects. And everything I did just didn't work. Like nothing worked. And that's what you got to realize, that a bear market is brutal because nothing works. People don't spend any more money. People are scared. And eventually, the reason why I actually left crypto was because I thought that this technology is never going to work and it's never going to go anywhere. 2 months later, there's a new narrative that's launched, which was DeFi. And there I was farming yam and sushi and I don't remember, pickles, and I don't remember what else I was farming, and making fortunes of money doing it. And so why do I say this is, you got to have sight of what bear markets are designed to do. Bear markets by nature, bull markets get the wrong people in, and bear markets get them out again. And sometimes, in some cases, you throw the baby out with the bathwater because the bear market is very brutal. And I'll be honest, like this bear market is brutal. It just seems like it doesn't end. It's been the longest 400 days of my life. Like if you think about this bear market, it's like it's been 400 days or 420 days or whatever it is. It started with Luna. Luna collapsed everything. It collapsed CFI, which eventually landed up collapsing FTX. And just when we thought like, okay, like there's no more dominoes that could fall, then we get the SEC saying, okay, basically your whole industry is a scam and everything is unregistered securities and we're going to shut everything down. But that's what the end of a bear market feels like. That's what the end of a bear market feels like.
How would you compare this one to the previous one? Because I've heard folks saying that this one feels actually more severe than the previous one, although we can't compare ourselves.
Not at all. Not at all. Look, in terms of size, this one's much bigger, and the losses are much bigger. But I remember in the 2018 bear market, we didn't know whether crypto was actually going to be a thing. We didn't actually know if it was going to survive. In fact, like most people were like, this crypto thing, it's garbage. It's never going to survive. It's bullshit. Bitcoin will never replace money. Bitcoin will never become digital gold. Now, yesterday we had the biggest fund manager in the world, the godfather of Wall Street, the most influential fund manager in the world, Larry Fink, the CEO of Bitcoin, of BlackRock, come out and say things that are ridiculous, like things like Bitcoin is digital gold, Bitcoin is hope, Bitcoin is the beginning of a new revolution, just like ETFs were a revolution. So, yeah, that we didn't have that in 2018. So this bear market is, I mean, look, it's so in terms of prices. I think my story about how much money I've lost on Luna is very, very, very public. Believe me, I felt the pain like everybody else. But this time, I don't look at this industry and say, okay, well, this industry won't be around in 5 years, which is where I was in 2018. Like, I know for sure this industry is going to be here. The serious builders are putting their heads down and building. Yes, it is harder to raise money. It is much harder, but it makes teams more innovative. And to be honest, it makes the funds I would say the funds were a little bit negligent and very loose with their money. I'll give you some examples of negligent and being loose with your money. One is sending, and I also did it. So sending hundreds of thousands of dollars to people that you'd never met before and only knew their Telegram handle. Number one. Number two, doing it in less than 1 day. So you have a call with an anonymous team in the morning, and by the afternoon, you've already transferred money, which is unreturnable in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to an anonymous person on Telegram, and hoping that you're going to get tokens from them one day. Now, that's like we were all negligent, and now all that's happening is we're just coming back to reality and to normality. That's all it is.
Austin,
I
Alexei,
agree with that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually solidly with that in regards to talking about the comparison of this bear market to the previous one. Ryan, I think you're pretty fundamentally right in the sense that the previous bear market, people didn't know if crypto was going to make it. And here we are in this bear market, like you're saying, like people, like executives at massive financial institutions are saying that tools like Bitcoin have the promise to revolutionize the financial system. And, there is a lot of FUD that has come out from the SEC really trying to clamp down on crypto in America. But I think the fundamental difference here that, just coming from building in the previous bear market to, still building through this one, the world understands that crypto is inevitable. We're reaching a point where dependence on the United States as a global hegemony, both in geopolitical power and in financial power, is decaying. We're moving to a world that is more multipolar, and crypto is the neutral economic rails upon which the world is going to continue moving forward. And people understand that. People are starting to see that this is inevitably going to happen. And governments are starting to react. The U.S. government itself is trying to clamp down on crypto because it's scared of it. It's scared of losing its dominance in the financial sector. Other countries and nations are looking to seize this opportunity. There are countries in Europe that are being extremely crypto friendly, trying to bring innovation within their borders. Hong Kong is making a ton of progress on this front. And so, even though prices still might not be, even though we're not seeing 100x moons in altcoins right now, the world is starting to understand that crypto is inevitably going to be the neutral financial rails that the global economy runs on. And that was definitely not the case in the previous bear market.
And interestingly, some people, they still, I fully agree with what you say, and some people still kind of believe, and some of the crypto OGs even sometimes think that even this market, they don't know if crypto is going to make it or not. And I think fundamentally this is this is exactly the proof that it is going to make it, and a point when it's the most fearful is the moment of truth, so to speak. So yeah, and the beauty of it, you can fully experience only from inside, depending on how early or how late you join the rabbit hole. So yeah, I guess that's the beauty of it.
Definitely. I mean, to kind of sum it up, what you guys are saying, right? Like, we started off with the conversation saying a bit like, it's a difficult market. Just when you think things are going well, you feel like you can't catch a break, and something else happens. And, to our surprise, there were some highlights this week, and we did see institutional investors kind of speak up for our industry. And all three of you had kind of nodded to this, but I wonder, like, is it a sign of market maturity? Like, what type of new investors do you think this is going to attract? What type of new players are going to come in, regardless of the fact, like, what type of market we are? Like, what is kind of the new norm now, given that you have someone this high up saying things like what you said, Ran, about like ridiculous things about crypto?
I mean, let's just understand, I think the best thing to compare crypto to is to gambling and gaming. Like, that's what you can really compare it to. Because actually, in a way, it is a form of speculation, gaming, and gambling, right? That's what, I mean, if you think about what crypto exchanges are, they're casinos. They allow us to come and speculate on our favorite unregulated instruments. And a lot of them just give you leverage in allowing you to do that. So, I mean, if we were to call a spade, the crypto industry and the casino industry are very, very similar industries. Now, years ago, casinos weren't regulated. Anybody could open a casino anywhere. Anyone could put a slot machine anywhere. Anyone could play blackjack anywhere. And it was the Wild West. And, over time, the regulators got involved. They made it that you needed licenses. Some countries banned it. Some countries didn't ban it and took advantage of the opportunity to be in the casino game. And I think that crypto is no different. I think exactly what happened. Now, obviously, here there's a case to say this is technology that's changing the world, but ultimately think about it as a similar industry. When I say similar industry, it went from being unregulated, and when it was unregulated, operators. When I say operators, let's call the projects operators, could make unlimited money with very few rules. And then over time, what happened was, in order to make the money, you needed to get a license. You had a lot of restrictions. You had to set your win-lose ratio. You couldn't just keep winning all the time and beating people. And that's exactly how this industry will eventually regulate itself. We're going to get regulation. As we get more and more regulation, more money is going to flow in. But I think the days of 100x altcoins you're not going to get that in the next bull run. It's not going to be the same, because there's going to be way more regulation, and not any monkey is going to be able to launch a coin whenever they want and pump it 100x and then dump it. Those days, I think it's not going to happen in the next bull market, but it is going to be a bull market because we're actually going to have real technology, and we're going to have real rules of the game.
Interesting take for all investors and community members what to expect from the next bull market. And continuing the topic of regulation and rules of the game, both Ran and Austin, you touched the topic of SEC and US regulations. And as we see that SEC continues to crack down on big crypto players, some companies find the European Union a more attractive place to start their Web3 business. In which way can different regulatory policies in the US and EU can impact the crypto industry at all? And how do you think would the European Union be more important in coming Web3 bull market and coming Web3 wave? So, Austin, Alexei, do you want to take this? Probably you have some experience with EU registrations of projects or with the regulators or starting business there.
Yeah, I'm happy to lead off here. I mean, I see this all kind of as like governments compete with one another. Like these are, we call them governments, but they're really just groups of people working together. Like corporations are groups of people working together, and there is a competitive landscape for them. I think what the U.S. is trying to do right now, it was unclear for a while why certain policies were, or like regulation was not being even announced. The SEC has refused to give clarity to the industry at all. And eventually, I think this became quite clear recently what their perspective is when Gary Gensler from the SEC said, we already have digital money. It's the dollar, it's the euro, it's the yen. And they just have no interest in crypto because it challenges their current global hegemony on the financial system. And so we're starting to see other countries notice this. We're starting to see other nations de-dollarize and stop denominating their trade in the US dollar. And other countries are opening up more favorable regulation. A lot of people in this industry don't want anarchy and chaos. People are trying to build valuable systems that actually help people. And so they're very open-minded to moving their businesses to other countries that are just less hostile and more open to understanding that like these can fundamentally help people across the world. And so, I usually tend to look at this from like a 10 plus year time perspective here. And to me, it's just like, okay, one country is being very hostile, but that opens up opportunities for other countries here. And we're going to see them competing with each other over the next 10 to 20 years here to create the most favorable environment for people who are actually like creating valuable systems in the space. So, I think it's interesting to watch this evolve, but inevitably, these are global systems that I don't really see as under the control of any singular government. I think that's kind of the point of them. These are like credibly neutral, censorship resistant systems so that anybody cannot be trapped in, some local system that is set up. So I'm happy to see countries stepping forward on this and, pushing forward favorable regulation. I think it's a nice counterbalance to some more short-sighted thinking happening from other regulators.
I would also add that the very fact that SEC is having a harsh take on the crypto right now is the very fact that crypto is becoming powerful indeed. So before, I can't say they were all that they were positive about it in the past, but kind of this harsh stance only proves that okay, the industry is maturing enough and showing the signs that it may become a threat to US and to US dollar, and obviously the US government does not want that. But in the currently changing geopolitical environment and de-dollarization process, I think it is quite inevitable, and we're in an interesting kind of change whereby we were just investigating where we should be legally incorporated or maybe change our legal infrastructure. And a big focus nowadays is towards the UAE regulation and what they provide. There are still different kind of pros and cons, and lots of people arguing about it. But definitely a very smart move by UAE government to attract people, capital, and just kind of become the real epicenter of what crypto will be. So yeah, super exciting to watch this unveiling basically right now.
Yeah, I think the UAE is another great example of nations seeing the opportunity to actually bring innovation within their borders. And so, we're seeing this in Europe. UAE is another great example there.
Yeah, definitely. Regulation and what you guys said is definitely brings a more healthier ecosystem. And I also like the comparison that you had, Ran, between the casino and the crypto space. I thought that was a good comparison of how the two work together. And with things moving a little bit away, not maybe away, but moving a little bit in a different direction, is you know, there's a lot of areas within crypto, and given the talk we just had on regulation, but also thinking about like the 3 industries that you guys represent within crypto, who or what area do you think is going to have a bit of a difficult time in the next upcoming months?
I'm happy to lead off here because I think my response is actually kind of simple. I think DeFi it's hard to compete when the U.S. government is offering 5% yield on Treasury bills, and so much of DeFi is dependent upon the interest rates that can be generated. And a lot of these interest rates in the past cycle came from inflationary tokens. But there is organic, like real yield in these protocols. Like a simple example is swap fees on decentralized exchanges. You know, that is an actual yield being paid to people who are providing assets to provide a financial service. Same with lending. So yeah, I think it's DeFi just because when the US government is offering 5%, what they call risk-free, it's hard to generate that in a sustainable way when that's kind of the core part of your product. There might be others out there, but that's kind of my personal take on this.
Alexei, Ran, do you agree with Austin, or do you think other sectors are going to have a more difficult time?
Sorry, I've been trying to unmute myself. There we go. I've unmuted myself. I think the first thing that's going to have a hard time is crypto projects that are actually centralized and ran ICOs and IDOs and centralized capital raises and raised money instead of raising equity. They used the token structure. I think those guys are going to have quite a hard time because it's quite clear that the SEC is going to come after them now. Now, it may not come after every project directly, but you know, by naming your project in a summons or against Coinbase, effectively that gets every exchange to delist your product, and then you know it becomes much harder for consumers to buy it unless they are au fait with decentralized exchanges and stuff like that. So, I think those guys are going to have a hard time. I think I don't really look at DeFi in terms of 5% yield. I don't look at that like that. I just look at DeFi as replacing the traditional financial system with a set of smart contracts. And I think, you know, very soon you'll just be able to generate the same 5% that you generate in the real world. You'll just be able to generate it with crypto in exactly the same way, but it'll just be tokenized. So I think we're just building the building blocks. I think it's just we're at the beginning stage, which is the building blocks. We have a long way to go. We have a long way to go from here.
Thanks.
Want to be clear, I actually agree with that perspective there. You know, like this is kind of a short-term perspective on this, like the next 6 months in DeFi. At large, I very much agree with Ran on what DeFi will become. Yeah, just want to make that clear. Extremely bullish DeFi long-term. We're just at the very earliest stages of it. And there's just like some short-term macro market conditions that I think will make TVL stay lower for a bit.
Thanks for the interesting takes on the short-term and mid-term futures of DeFi. And speaking about the industries, I want to ask Alexei, especially that you recently launched a new gaming ecosystem called Qs. I want to ask about the gaming sector in general, especially in the upcoming 6 months. We know that gaming during the last year had not the best times in terms of the community sentiment and issues with the sustainability. But what do you expect from gaming developers in Web3 for the next months? And
Can I just ask a question? Because I really want to understand this. I'm not a gamer and I'm not building in the gaming space, but I do love the industry. Does gaming ever go through a bear market? Because like to me, gamers are gamers and they get addicted to playing games that are good games. And it doesn't really, like, there's no such thing as a gaming bear market, right? Or is there? Am I getting it all wrong?
Yeah, great question, Ran. You're right. You're right and wrong at the same time. So basically, like if we speak about crypto gaming or Web3 gaming, if this term even exists, reality is when somebody is saying like crypto gaming is dead, they're referring to the games which are not exactly games, are more like DeFi protocols, prepare or like presenting themselves to be a games or wrapped into a quote unquote gaming package. And a lot of people were aping on them, and there was a lot of hype with like late 2021 and like first half of 2022. But these are not the projects that we would call games in a not specific sense. When people play the game only to make money, that's a false approach. And despite some of the projects hitting huge huge market cap, even with Steppen, which project we deeply admire, at some point their market cap was 17 bill or like FDV. It still was so much speculative that there were the audience of was 99% not gamers, but basically people who grinders who just wanted to make some money. And this approach cannot work longer term because people came not to play a game but to make money. So as soon as the bear market comes in whichever way or form, the gaming stops. People just stop playing because there is no point to it. And that's precisely what is guiding us in building the ecosystem of games and combining sort of the Web 2 and the Web 3. So the players who come to play the games just for fun, because today people play hyper casual, hybrid casual, and just all kind of smallish games on their mobiles completely for free, watching advertising, or maybe sometimes paying for something. They don't need to get tokens to sell them. They're happy to just play for fun, to kill their time in a fun way. And we believe that basically giving people the games they already like to play, but also spicing them up a bit with the point like, hey, you can play these cool games, but also you can own assets and become a part of Web3 economy if you're active enough, and not necessarily speculating, but just becoming a part of or exposing yourselves towards Web3 and crypto. I think that this approach is way more sustainable. And the best thing, Ren, is exactly to your point. The real gamers, they don't care what kind of market it is. In fact, they don't even know if I'm playing a like running game or like whatever, like hyper casual shooters and jumpers and all sort of stuff. People don't even know what kind of market is out there. They just play for fun, and and this is how it works. Whereas opposed
I can
to
tell
crypto,
you, my kids plplay Fortnite and they play all those games, and those games never ever go through a bear market. I can promise you that, because my kids will
100%.
always play.
100%, and that's exactly what I believe the next wave of gaming will be. 95% or even more of quote unquote game developers in crypto are died, or or the projects are almost at this stage because they were never games in the first place. So the new wave of developers and products would actually be about fun, and then introducing the crypto part in a nice and smooth way. And I believe this is exactly the way to do it. So kids and everybody else will just play for fun in the first place, and then getting some extra benefits if they're open to it. So I think that's where the industry is heading. And from the metrics we currently see, people still continue to play. They want this fun part in their lives in any case. It's just about making it more sustainable and giving them the real quality stuff.
Yeah, hopefully the whole industry, not just in the gaming, but the whole crypto industry will have some fun in the next coming months. That's what I hope potentially will happen. We are already at pretty much 15 minutes until the end of the session, and I know, Ran, you have a hard stop, so we do have some questions from our audience which we don't want to miss out. Daniel, I saw that you've requested to speak. I will give you permission to ask your question now. You should be connecting to the Twitter Spaces talk. In the meantime, I will check our comment section if there are any questions there as well. No questions so far, just a lot of enthusiasm, which is great to see from the community. All right, Daniel is still connecting. All right, let's see. We're still connecting. Well, in the meantime, thank you guys again for answering all of our questions and for the fantastic conversation that we've had between each other. It was really great to hear all of your, thoughts and opinions, and also really, challenge the status quo and what's going on in the market at the moment. For those that are listening or those that had to drop off, there was the session is recorded, so you can always listen to it again. And we always share a written recap about a week after the session. So if you prefer to read what happened, we have that as well. I think Daniel is having a couple of connection issues. So while he does connect and come on, we will oh, and now he's gone. So no more question from Daniel. But maybe we can end the session with something from you guys as well. So, oh, we have one more request. Sorry, crypto. Oh, no. Excuse me, guys. There's some technical issues, but let's move on. I think what would also be really interesting to hear from you is, what are you particularly excited about? Are there any projects, builders, or also influencers in the space that are really, exciting you guys, that you're following, that you would like to also let our audience know?
Besides your own project, of course.
which we're all happy
I mean,
about.
I'm excited about the space in general. Like, I'm just excited about the fact that the institutions are coming in. I'm just excited about, the fact that, we're finally going to get regulatory clarity. I know there are going to be some casualties. I know some projects are going to have to die as a result, but I think that's just the part of the game kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, I'm just excited at the fact that I think we're in a raging bull market, and it's working.
Great.
Thank you so much, Ren. And we have Daniel connected. Hi, Daniel. Please unmute and ask your question.
Hi, guys. How are you? I'm eagerly listening to all the space. I'm just a regular retail investor. Crypto is making a small amount of my of my investments, but 80% of my time or 90% of my time, because I'm so interested in it. The title of this space says 6 months outlook. I don't have a glass bowl. I don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. I just believe in the space, and especially in Bitcoin. And I experienced, because you were talking about it earlier, since if you don't invest in the space, you automatically think it's a scam. Even Bitcoin. And just talk to your friends. If I talk to my friends, if I just mention Bitcoin, it says, "Oh, it's a scam." It goes up and down. It's at 30,000 today, but tomorrow it's gonna be back at 20 or whatever. How do you guys Do you actually try convincing people to come into the space? What do you guys do?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this one because I went through this. So I originally got pretty into crypto when I was still studying at Harvard, and Harvard had like a much more traditional and risk averse culture, and so people, like other students, would kind of like mock my co-founder and I at the time, like, oh, the Bitcoin boys. And the thing is, like, I can understand where people's minds come from with that. If people are just looking to like banter, like, sure. But if people are looking to have a conversation, the argument for crypto is just seeming like increasingly obvious to me. So if people want to talk about prices and stuff, that's fine. But if you want to talk about the fact that across the world, governments are stealing from their citizens through having like extortionary inflation rates, they're trapping capital within their borders and not letting they're stealing the wealth of their citizens. I'm happy to like actually talk about why there is a need for a neutral economic system. But if people are just looking to like banter and talk about prices, that's obviously a different question. So really, it depends on just the openness, like the open-mindedness of, are people really trying to have a conversation right now, or are they just parroting what they've heard on like some news channel?
I totally understand. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree. So it's a completely psychological thing, and it's people tend to be kind of try not to not to do any risky moves. And just at the end of the day, a lot of people are just lazy to learn new stuff and new information. And if you know nothing, I remember how hard it was for us a year and a half ago to start doing crypto when we knew absolutely nothing about it. And even us having like lots of experience in IT, in tech, in creating the mobile apps and stuff like that. Even with this background, a lot of things were very challenging at times just to understand how everything works. So it's a bit of mental effort. So for the sake of simplifying, people would just deny that it makes any sense because they just want to do it, but they would do it eventually when something bad happens. But that's it's more expensive but more effective way for people to start paying attention to alternative. But if people are open-minded, I actually noticed that lots of folks are actually asking questions and trying to understand, and asking me questions like, hey, where do I start? Like, how do I start understanding this? And because, yeah, I understand this is the future. I know nothing about it, but I want to be a part of it. So more and more people are talking stuff like that. And this is really, really encouraging.
But is it really about being open-minded or not? Like, I understand, obviously, stable coins is a wonderful, fantastic system to, I transfer money from the US to Europe and back and forth. I do that, and I do use stables, and it's unbelievably easy. On the other hand, the inflation argument, if you go with the inflation argument and Bitcoin drops from 68,000 to 17,000, for believers in the space, they say, okay, wonderful. That's a great time to buy at 17, 18, 20, even now at 30, whatever. But, you basically lost 50. You went down 50, 80%. Even though now this year it's the best performing asset, it just recovered some of the losses for most. So how do you go against the inflation argument where as opposed to losing for, the whole 22?
Yeah, I think a pretty simple way to understand this is just to think about the individual impact on people's lives. I'm not saying that Bitcoin at its current stage of maturation is the perfect anti-hedge against this. It is an alternative option, but like in Lebanon, for example, I saw news articles about people not only being trapped through like the inflation that was up to like 150% at one point. But also the banks just stopped allowing them to withdraw their money. And, if you even think about that on a 5-year timeline, if we have inflation rates of, 100, 150%, it's like theft. Like people can't build wealth. And if you think about that on the term of lifetimes, if a generation goes by, that means every single grandparent in the nation is going to be impoverished and dependent upon their children to support them because the government took that money away from them. And so if you think about just like simply in terms of what happens in the lifetime of any individual human who is trapped within one of these countries, the government does not permit them to accrue wealth because they take it from them, and then they have to depend on their children to support them. And so it's theft from an entire generation of people. And I'm not saying that Bitcoin today in its current form, that everybody has the luxury to handle the volatility of it. But that's simply what's happening with governments today. The current inflation rates are like impoverishing entire generations of their citizens, and they're putting capital controls in place to make it so that they have no alternative.
Daniel, I see your hand is raised, and I would love to continue the conversation, but we do have another request as well, and we are running out of time. So I do want to give crypto the opportunity, Crypto Black Pack, the opportunity to ask their question as well. But thank you so much for your enthusiasm. We really appreciate it, and also for the great conversation that you had with our speakers. Crypto Black Pack, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Feel free to ask.
Okay, yeah, I see you guys are investing in a project that's in beta right now. I just wanted to know if you could give any feedback on it, and what did you think about DEXs moving forward in the next 6 months? And I'm inquiring about Daffy.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, I see you're a backer of a project that's in beta this month, and they're supposed to be releasing a hybrid exchange. And I was just wondering Did you have any feedback on that?
Which project specifically are you referring to? Which project is we have a lot of companies that are in beta phase right now, and they are about to launch.
The hybrid exchange, Daffy.
So unfortunately, I'm not sure we are on the same page with the project because we're not at the moment investors of any hybrid exchange at the moment.
Daffy Protocol.
I mean Daffy Protocol. Yeah. We are. Yeah. Because the full name of the project is it. Yeah, but I think we're investors from the very early days and still connected with the company, but. I think it's not the main topic of the conversation at the moment, but you can see and follow our portfolio updates on the websites and socials. And but feel free to ask questions related to the guests. And definitely, once we have more updates on this certain companies, we push it in our socials, and happy to invite them to our spaces with the relevant topics as well.
Fair enough. What's the room think about investing in DEXs with the way the market is right now in the next 6 months?
I think almost all speakers and guests right now will agree with that decentralized exchanges are crucial elements of DeFi ecosystem and decentralized infrastructure and blockchain in general. So I guess decentralized exchanges, cross-chain technologies, all this will exist and evolve and grow significantly during the next 6 months, especially with the more solutions like layer 0, and also with something that guys with Omni are building and can chip in on this question as well. So I think decentralized exchanges are here to stay, and this direction will keep growing as well as the whole crypto market in general.
Cool. Appreciate the answer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question, guys, and also again to Daniel for your great question to our speakers and our guests. We're also happy to always have a question for us, so we were a bit like, oh, someone wants to ask us a question. That's nice to hear as well, since we're always the ones asking questions. But thanks again, guys. We are at the end of the hour. It went by super quickly, and we are again very excited that we could get to talk to you guys about this topic, and also not just about the next 6 months, but also dive a little bit deeper into the long term. As said, the session is recorded and will be shared on our socials. We do hold Twitter spaces once a month with a roundtable of 3 to 4 speakers, but we also do one-on-one interviews with founders in the space, which is hosted by our colleague Sabi. So those are always interesting to listen to as well. Again, thanks a lot for your time. It was such a pleasure, and we are looking forward to the next roundtable.
Yep, thanks for hosting.
Amazing, thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Been a pleasure. See you soon, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Likewise.
See you. Bye, man.
Thanks everybody for joining. Have a great rest of your day.